Let's hope for the best. Hey everyone, it's me, it's Brian Collins, here for the unusual, the quarantine version of the traditional Screamfest Q&A. We usually do these at night after screening of the movie. Now we're doing it in the morning with our coffee. Whether or not we've Irished it up, you can decide for yourself. But I am here with Brett and Drew Pierce, the creators of The Wretched, the #1 movie, The Wretched. Congratulations, of course.
Thanks, man.
Are the weirdest way to ever obtain a #1 movie, but
yeah. But you got to take it when it's out there, I guess.
Greatest silver lining of all time for us.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, we'll talk about that in a bit. Well, let's start with the origins of the film. You guys are taking influences from like real kind of witch stories like Black Annie and kind of, mix matching them and adding your own stuff, of course, to kind of create a new one. What was that process like? Kind of how many different witches did you guys kind of witch stories did you
use?
It's
primarily two.
Yeah, he's just from Black Annie and the
yeah. But I mean, our goal was just we wanted to like create like the rules for the witch, because usually they're just like evil sort of women that are ghosts.
Yeah.
But we it's primarily Black Annis and the Boo Hag.
Yeah.
There's
we
little
looked
bit
at probably dozens and dozens.
We looked a lot at the Kaliak, which
Yeah.
is sort of like more of a nature spirit, like a positive sort of nature spirit. I think isn't it like, I can't remember where it comes from.
It's Irish and English.
Irish.
Yeah. But we also looked at ones like the Jenny Greenfingers or Green Teeth. I always mix those two up. The Baba Yaga and a bunch of other ones. But we kind of realized that there was like a common element to a lot of them. And some of it was the design and the look of kind of like a hag-like creature. And the other element that was just common among all of them is that obviously children were the prey of the witches. In a lot of cases, they were stealing children and taking them under a lake and eating them, going into a graveyard and taking children's corpses and eating them, or just taking kids out of their bedroom. So we liked all that stuff, and it was obviously kind of a Hansel and Gretel vibe. But the Boo Hag and the Black Annie kind of had the rules that we liked the best, that worked for the story we wanted to tell. And the Boo Hag was kind of like a skin-changing witch that pretends to be a bunch of other people, and you can like salt her skin to kill her. When she crawls back to her skin, she burns because of the salt. And then like Black Annie, it was more of a visual thing where she just snuck into houses and stole children, but she lived in a tree and flailed children's skin and ate them, and kind of had this like blue-faced witch look. So we liked those two things. And then Drew came up with the idea, because he was like, how do we make it so that like a witch could get, like, basically, how can a witch get away with the crime of like eating and killing children and nobody knowing about it? And Drew was just like, well, what if she's able to make people forget about them? And that kind of like just filled in the last hole for us to kind of make the creature and all her rules work for us. And we got super stoked and like went through the whole script and kind of tweaked it to fit that.
Yeah, we were digging around through old scripts yesterday, and we actually found some original drafts. I didn't even remember titling this, but our first drafts, like our working drafts, were called Black Annie.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny.
So when you're writing, obviously it's a lot kind of more traditional to be working together, throwing ideas back and forth. How does that translate to when you're directing together? Does one of you kind of work on the technical stuff while the other one with the actors, or you just switch off, or how does that?
It's kind of all over the place. By that point, we're like such pre-production nuts that we've spent so much time. Like we storyboard the whole movie. I'm a storyboard artist, but Brett usually sits with me and we jam out on doing thumbnails and then kind of figure out the scenes. So by the time we've done all the designs together and we've kind of figured out every little bit of it, that by the time we're like shooting the movie, we know we've had all the conversations, like we know what color, like the outfits we want for different characters to have. Like we figured out all like those sorts of questions. So there's not a whole lot of the kind of any question either one of us can usually answer. So the great part, it's like having two bodies, because there's times where you do have to divide a little bit as far as like, hey, send somebody to go talk to this department and send somebody else to go talk to production design. And the actor has a question about a thing. So sometimes we would divide up just a little bit, which is great.
And also I'm really bad at like 2 a.m. to like 4 a.m. Like my brain shuts down. And that's when Drew wakes up.
I'm a night owl.
So
like I shine 2 a.m. and I'm golden.
Yeah.
If it's 9 a.m., my
brain.
brain.
Me a question at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, coffee. I don't know. So, but it's good. He's not a morning person, so we kind of like fill in those two gaps for each other. So
yeah, I mean, we definitely have very like different strengths, but I think it's just we've sort of beaten everything to death and figured everything out that we're kind of the same person by the time we're shooting.
Yeah.
Works out.
Yeah.
And you guys, this is all shot in Michigan?
Yeah, everything except for we did a few pickups in LA.
We did the opening scene in
the
LA.
opening had a very LA house looking vibe to it.
Yeah, we were going for Michigan, but that was the closest we could find to like a Michigan house.
I'll tell you, that was one of the biggest challenges is finding a basement in LA. We looked at every rental. We looked at so many places that they would, you search, it's like, 20,000 houses in LA. And then you're like, okay, basement, 20 houses in LA. and then we'd go and like look at them, and the basement would be like a 4x4 foot space with a couple boxes. And like, this isn't a basement. This isn't a Michigan basement. Like, we need a space.
The one we even used was actually even too small, so that when you watch the movie, the first couple of shots are actually in the basement of the house, and the next shot
is like a warehouse.
Is this warehouse where we were shooting other stuff? We just decorated this cruddy corner to look like a Michigan basement. So it was tricky. We had to figure it out, but it was we invented our Michigan basement out of 2 LA locations.
Yeah.
And the two main houses, were you actually able to find 2 houses that were really side by side that served all your purposes, or did you have to kind of trick that too?
Yeah. I mean, in retrospect, and I think we were so determined to find so that we could kind of combine the sort of the houses together. We probably could have done it with separate locations, but I'm so glad that we got them together. Yeah, we found a couple bed and breakfasts. There's actually 4 houses at that like location. Because one thing we ran into, because we did all the scouting, driving around northern Michigan looking for houses that are like adjacent to each other,
and it's super rural, so there's like barely anyone lives out there.
Nobody. You don't live close to your neighbor if you're in a rural location. You move at least a couple hundred feet away, so it was rare to find any houses kind of squashed together. And we didn't want a ton of other houses like super close. We kind of wanted them to feel sort of isolated but yet close enough that they would have sight lines.
Yeah, it was tricky to hide the other 2 houses from being seen, though, in a lot of shots too. We're always cheating, so you don't see those other 2. But we actually, like, in a weird way, the interiors of the houses are kind of like, Tetris together, because we used all 4 houses' interiors for just those 2 houses. So we just had to do all this weird, mental math of how do we make this all look like the same 2 houses on the inside. So it was cool, though. Like, we got to put up, like, Drew and I stayed there while we were staying there, and the 2 extra houses like provided room to like, okay, we can put wardrobe and makeup over here, and my dad can sleep upstairs and make the coffee and stuff. So it worked out. But Drew and I, the only thing is we went stir crazy because we basically joked how like most of the crew was staying somewhere else, but we never got to leave that area. So we would like walk down to the end of the driveway and watch everybody leave, and we didn't leave that place for like 3 weeks straight. We were like stir crazy.
Oh, it helped prep you for nowadays when you
we're used to it now.
But all right, so let's talk the mask. With the I guess it's like a skull and the horns and stuff. Who designed? Did you guys design that yourselves? Did you create it?
That was our makeup artist Eric Porn. He sculpted it. We had a lot of influence on all that. Like I had done some drawings and and just pulled a lot of different sort of skull masks, different deer masks and cow masks, and kind of gave him a kind of a rough idea. And then he took a shot at it. And it was a cool collaborative process between Porn and, because I'm like an illustrator. I've been working in like animation and storyboards forever. He'd send me like pictures he was doing of the sculpts, and I would like just sketch over his pictures and be like, shave a little bit off this, let's try this, and here's like another reference, maybe we'll go this direction. So it was this really collaborative, cool process.
Yeah, it's actually this guy.
There it is.
Yeah, we have like
a little wonky here.
There's like he made like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah,
it was cool. We had ones that were more hard and sort of like beautiful, but then we had some that were designed for stunts because there's a couple of
floppy rubber
falls and things that people had to do, and you don't think about it when you're shooting stuff, but like if somebody's got to fall over and they've got this hard sort of surface thing, it's just gonna like scrape up their face. So we made some rubber ones.
Yeah, it's tricky though too, because we had to like we were like, oh, a deer skull mask, but deer's eyes are on the side, so we had to like readjust the eye holes to look forward, figure out how to make it fit the actor's face every time. It was actually a lot trickier than we thought it was gonna be.
It's totally
it was a late game idea. It wasn't in the script till right before we were going, and we were just like, I think she needs a mask, and if we can kind of support the deer iconography that the symbol implies and that she crawls out of a deer, will kind of help build that mythology out visually. So it was kind of a last minute thing, but ended up being a really big project.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about the twist. We're going to get into some spoilers. I hope everybody's watching has watched the movie already. But you guys mentioned earlier that the idea of the witch making people forget was something kind of that came later in development of the story. What I really liked about the twist is that it is not, you're not looking for a twist, and it's hidden kind of in plain sight. How did you I guess, trying to phrase the question, basically, how did you do it? Like, how did you manage to hide how did you manage to hide that in plain sight? Did you ever have to, like, in editing, be like, all right, we're tipping our hat a little too much here, or maybe we need to, it's too much of a cheat if we don't put this, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it was a little, definitely in the edit, there was a little give and take all the time in various edits that we were showing friends and other filmmakers and just random people to get their feedback. So sometimes you're like, oh, it's a little too much, it's a little too little. But I mean, we were so excited about the idea that we just went through it and we're like, where can we feather in ideas that hint to the fact that this twist is going to pay off? And we honestly, almost all of them made the movie. That kind of what we had in the script was pretty close to what it was. The tricky part for us was we were so picky about it. We went back in time through the whole script and said, like, can I spoil the ending? I guess, yeah. And we were like, we have to figure out where that character is in every one of these scenes, even if we don't show a flashback that shows it. We just want to know in our heads that there's an excuse of where they're at and what they're doing. So there was like 2 days of just going through every scene, even if he wasn't really there, like, where is he right now? What's he doing? Kind of type thing. So it was kind of, it was fun though. And honestly, Drew suggested that idea, and the script was already kind of done. We were still not shooting for like another year and a half at that point, but it was kind of done. I almost didn't want to do it because I was like, man, this is gonna be a bunch of work, but it's too good of an idea not to like do it. So we kind of just broke it apart and figured it out again. So
I think my favorite example is probably the Connect 4 game, because when you see it, to me anyway, it read as, oh, here's a dad that like doesn't realize how old his son has gotten. And, he's like, oh, let's play a game. And all he's got is like Connect 4 laying around, So like, it's like, it feels, it's like this nice little sort of like, oh, the poor dad kind of thing. And then when you realize why the Connect 4 game is actually there, it's like, oh shit. Like, so I like when a twist works like that, where you actually, nothing is pointing to it being a twist. It's pointing to something that you're supposed to be taking it another way.
We want people to always kind of think that maybe something feels a little weird, but I can't quite put my finger on it from a few of them. And I that was kind of like the aim, but it's just so tricky when you're the person that writes it to know what that level of like, getting somebody involved is. You don't have any like perspective.
There's a bunch of twists. It's funny. There's a handful that people never even notice. And one of the ones that I'm most proud of, nobody ever notices, but I think it's just such a cool little twist. It's when Abby when the mother next door is at the bottom of the stairs and they have their confrontation. She's staring at, the other kid and basically says, are your parents home? And she's not like, then our main character steps to the top of the stairs. Like, it's like she was talking to nobody.
And then she looks up.
And says, oh, hi, sweetie. And nobody ever catches that one. That was the one we thought, like, does this tip the hat? But a lot of people don't even necessarily catch that over
their head.
In retrospect. It's just like, oh, she's weird. She's possessed. She's like doing things. So it was cool. We were excited that it sort of landed.
Okay, so we have a couple questions from our audience, and a couple of them are matching up to one of my questions. Both Chio and, I'm sorry if I'm saying your names wrong, please forgive me, Rupesh, and okay, it's just them two, and me wondering about the sequel. The end kind of tips off a possibility for a sequel. Is that something you guys are actively working on? I know you guys want to do a werewolf movie.
We're working on a ton of things right now. We're kind of scattered all over the place, but it's definitely something that we've been like, we're just constantly pitching ideas back and forth to each other. But there's a couple ideas. There's a lot of big ideas that just didn't make this movie because we either didn't have the budget to pull them off, or just they didn't fit into the script, that we still want to roll over, and some of them play into our sequel idea.
Yeah.
So,
and we worked out like a pretty dense backstory and mythology, and you always work all that out, and then you realize when you make the movie you don't put in as much as you think you're going to. So there's a lot more elements of that we're interested in kind of exploring things a little bit more. So I keep on joking, Drew. I kind of want to make it like, the first one's like Alien, the second one's like Aliens. Not that there's more witches, just like kind of like a little bit more action-y type thing.
Full of witches.
Yes, they're everywhere.
Well, my
colonial marines. No,
the best sequels, and it's kind of like the Terminator 2 thing, is where you sort of bend the genre a little bit and do another genre. You bring on another one. So we're gonna make it a rom-com Wretched. There's like
so my thing for sequels is that, like, if I want a sequel to a movie, it's usually because I like the characters and I don't care what kind of movie they're in. I remember it was Pierce Brosnan was saying, like, he's Bond at this point. Why is it always have to be a save the world kind of thing? Why can't he be in a sci-fi movie? Why can't he be in a horror movie? It doesn't matter. He's James Bond. Like, that's who we'll go to.
That's kind of true.
So I like that line of thinking. So
It's also with like sequels to horror movies that always get up my craw is when they basically just put you in the same situation with a different set of characters, and you're like, oh, the same thing is going to happen to these people. And you're like, I'm like, no, I want it to advance in some way.
And they sort of restart the same, like there's always like an emotional goal for the character or some sort of thing they're trying to overcome. And they always just like reboot it. It's like, oh, they're depressed again, or whatever it is. Like whatever the hurdle is they're trying to overcome. Is
I watched Ghostbusters 2 last week, and I was just like, again, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, why are they losers? Like, they saved the city. Like, no one likes them anymore. A couple years later. And then, like, Dana and Peter are broken up. Why? Just like get back together again. Like, it's just like that
like, you're just making me go through the same hurdles again, man. It's like I just want to see, like, what's the evolution of this? It's like,
there's I know we're getting off track, but It's Alive 2. Larry Cohen's It's Alive 2. I found he found the best way to split the difference. He literally has half the movie, which is following the dad from the first movie and what he's doing now, and half the movie is kind of a remake with a different couple also having a mutant baby. I'm like, everybody wins with this. But you don't see that approach too often at all. Mike Ivey, he's an amateur filmmaker and screenplay and short story writer. He wants to know if you do most of your effects in post.
They're all
practical,
and I mean, there's a handful of little bits of cleanup, and we added some blood on the floor in the opening scene and a couple little bits.
But as for the creature and the wretch, it's all practical.
It's all practical. There's little plus things where, like, if we, if something didn't work out just right, but I mean, everything's pre-pro.
Not to undersell our digital effects artist. That did a really good job, but most of his work was composite shots and removing boom mic shadows. Stuff like
adding
boring
screens
stuff.
to phones,
adding screens to phones and TV screens. It's not the sexy stuff, but it's like, he did a great job because people don't notice it. So
Chip Matoof wants to I was wondering if the actor was afraid while filming. It says the kid. I assume the younger kid and not
well, the one, our creature in our movie is this she's like a pretty 21-year-old bubbly girl, so it's hard to be too afraid. I think if anybody was afraid, it was Piper Curda, our Mallory, who's in the movie. She's the female lead. She we had shot probably most of her scenes at this point. We were like halfway through the movie, but she hadn't been in any of the horror scenes. So a lot of her scenes were just sort of these like Scooby-Doo sort of banters about like, there might be something next door. And this is kind of playful fun. Or I'm at the beach and talking with my friends. And then all of a sudden we were shooting a scene where this creature was 5 feet in front of her and looked terrifying in the light.
It was like coming out of the tree trying to grab her.
And I think, did I say it? I can't remember. I said, I think Piper just found out what kind of movie she's in because she just looked terrified. She's not a horror person. Like, she doesn't watch horror movies.
I think we're one of the only horror movies she's ever watched.
We got Chio wants to know if it's still playing at the drive-ins. Before you answer that, can you just talk about how all that happened? Because that was obviously a great kind of.
Yeah, it was crazy because we had a May 1st release no matter what through IFC Midnight. And for the longest time, we were going to get 10 or 12 theaters across the country and probably play for a week or two, like most movies do, like indies. And then the pandemic hit, and we just thought the theater thing was going to get wiped out completely understandably too. And then IFC was like, there's some drive-ins open. We want to take a shot at putting it in 10 or 12. And we were like, oh, okay. And they're like, it's safe. The people are doing social distancing. They're preparing for it. I was like, that's cool. That sounds great. And they put it out. And we had really, really good turnout in the first week just for those 10 or 12 theaters. And then they upped it, I think, to 22 or something in the second week. And then they had even more turnout. And then they upped us up to 45 eventually. And they're even adding more now. I think we're going to be roughly in about 50 or 60 this weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're in a lot right now. We're in more theaters now, and starting this Friday more than we've ever been in. So,
which is kind of an old model. Like they used to dip their toes in and do kind of a smaller release and then grow releases like indie movies. But I think just since the middle class of movies have sort of disappeared, there's less and less in that. It's mostly like the major releases get that, and anything that's not is just a couple weeks and they sort of sort it out and it's gone.
Yeah, I mean,
this is sort of a super rare thing to ever expand.
I think what was cool, the one silver lining benefit is because all the other big studio movies moved away from their release dates, it made people give our movie a shot more than it would have had, but the cool thing is we've had word of mouth, and they've been able to spread it more because of that, because a lot of people saw it and told other people to go see it. And that was, it's honestly the element that you can't no matter how much money a studio spends on promoting a movie, if other people aren't telling people about it, it only has so long of a life,
dies.
So,
and in a weird way, we kind of got this this fire starter of people who were like, oh, I want to go check out a drive-in movie.
Yeah.
And I think word of mouth just took over, and people were like, you should see this. This is
so it's a mix of luck, hard work, and crazy times.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's nuts.
The perfect storm. And what is the release? Is it on? It's on VOD here now, right? For
it's on all the VOD,
iTunes, Amazon, all the places you can rent movies.
Yeah,
I think, cable.
And then what about internationally? Do you know?
Internationally, it's only so far. It's out in the UK on VOD right now. We sold to a ton of other countries and territories. I think we're out in Russia right now, and they renamed the movie The First Witch. And I just heard it's coming out in Germany, and they're renaming it The Witch Next Door. It's funny, our title isn't sticking overseas, but yeah, it's pretty much gonna be everywhere. We keep on filling in different countries, and we're opening in some drive-ins in Canada this Friday too, in the Toronto area and stuff. So
nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Drew, presumably not you are talking to yourself, wants to know what you guys use for screenwriting. I assume they mean what program. Is it Final Draft or?
Well, Drew. Yeah. Just Final Draft. Everybody, I haven't used a whole lot of the other programs. There's a ton of other ones and cheaper ones. We had a pirated version of Final Draft for so long. I finally paid
I still
for
have a
it.
pirated one, man.
I finally started paying for it like a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's not the best program, but I think a lot of people.
I think we're just used to it too.
A lot of people love Writer Duet. It kind of doesn't matter. You could write a screenplay on a napkin, to be honest. It's just.
I've seen the Transformer films. They do.
Then they rip them up. Then they blow it out of a cannon. I think that was like the Ninja Review, right? Then they picked up all the pieces of the napkin, taped it together, and that was their screenplay.
Oh yeah, that was about Pirates of the Caribbean too. Yeah.
Couple of more commented questions. Blue Steel Films wants to know the movie is so much fun.
Thanks.
Someone just asked, I think it's Iron Wolf. How can they just rename your film? You guys have any? That's always up to the distributor.
They do have to get approval from us, and we're kind of okay with it. As long the reason it was funny in Germany, they just said that the Germans had a hard time pronouncing The Wretched. So they didn't want to force that on them. With the Russian one, I'm not even sure what that was or what the decision was behind that. I mean, it's still going to stay the Wretched, like it's the Wretched in the UK and Australia and New Zealand and all the English speaking countries.
It's pretty common to rename films overseas, different territories, because they all have different perceptions of the same words that we have. Sometimes words just aren't as common, even if they speak English.
I used to work at a video store, like a cult video store, and we sold like a lot of laser discs, a lot of imports too, like Japanese ones. And my favorite was, we had one for Army of Darkness, and it was they had retitled the movie Captain Supermarket, which is almost a cooler title. But but I was like, I'm okay if I get something like Captain Supermarket. I'll live with it.
Yeah, my favorite is Die Hard. I think it's in Germany actually. What they changed it to translates back into English as a hard nut to crack.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. My buddy always wanted to, we always joked when I were at the video store, like, what would you rename this movie for like a Japanese release? And we were like, okay, The Fifth Element. And my one buddy goes like, he's like, Psycho Messiah Cab Driver, go. I was like, that's great. I love that.
I wonder if in Russia we're going to be called, if we make a sequel, if it'll be The Second Witch, or we'll just call it The First Witch 2.
Yeah.
Who knows?
More witches.
Yeah.
I think that's all of our questions. Let me just double check. I don't want to leave anybody out. I got Chip, screenwriting, BOD, screenwriting. Okay, yeah. All right, that's all of our audience questions. That's pretty much it for me. And you guys got to go to the drive-in, right? You guys got to see it there?
Yeah. I went to the Mission Tiki 3 times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. It's an experience.
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
got to go on a date night with my wife. I had Brett watch my kid who's in the movie.
Yeah.
The baby.
He's a baby that gets eaten. But yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I want to go again. I'm gonna go, I think, to the Paramount one of these nights to go see it down there. But yeah, I don't know. I miss going to the movies so much. I just want to go see anything at the drive-in right now because I just miss popcorn, man.
Yeah, they're showing like they have like revival stuff at Mission Tiki now, so they're showing like Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Hey, I'm down for that. Anything's. I mean, I like watching stuff on my screen at home, but it's not even close to the movie theater. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Well, appreciate you guys talking to us this morning. Congratulations again on the movie. And you guys laid out that it is out on BAD here now. If you don't have a drive-in near you and other territories, just keep an eye out if it's not there already.
And we recorded a commentary, so there will be a Blu-ray at some point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think in the fall. So
okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Thanks. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. See you, man. Stay safe.
See you, man.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Keep an eye out for more